Bryce, nice to meet you officially. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in real estate.
Yeah, so real estate definitely was not my first career choice. It wasn't even on my radar. I went to college to be a police officer, so I did that. I went to school for 4 years, and I went through what they call skills. In reality, it's like a police academy, basically, is what it is. Teach you everything you know to be a cop. And I got hired pretty much right out of college, 6 months out of college. And it was a lot different then than it is now as far as the process goes and finding a job and getting a job. When I got my job in law enforcement, it was, 500 other applicants. And now in today's environment, police departments are lucky to get 15 to 20 applicants.
I know, it's wild.
So I did that job for about 5 years and just ultimately made the decision that it wasn't something that I could see myself doing for 30 plus years. So I went into the corporate world and worked at Target for a number of years, kind of managing an assets protection team, focusing on shortage and apprehending shoplifters, things like that. So kind of along the same lines as what I was doing. And then I quickly realized that I just kind of wanted to get out of that environment. Law enforcement, security, that kind of stuff. It's a tough environment to be in.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's kind of a grind, It's mentally a grind, really aware on family and things like that.
Hours. So, I'm sure it's all sorts of... real estate is obviously all sorts of wild hours
It
is,
but it's so much different. And so when I kind of decided what's my next chapter of life, real estate kind of hit me as something that I wanted to do because my father has been an investor since I was a little kid. So he's been in real estate on the investment side of things, never into sales or anything like that. And I got my license and just went to town. That's really how it got started. It was an idea in my head that my father has always made a living in real estate, and I wanted to do the sales side of things. So that's...
And so far, it's obviously clearly worked out very well for you.
What
so
a
far, so good.
From one career to the other. And I think I remember when we first met, and when you were a cop, it's like every day was more negative or bad news, or it was just a lot of delivering of bad news, right?
Right.
And in real estate, it's like different. It's an exciting adventure for people to be house hunting, and it's a more positive feeling overall during the day.
Yeah, and I think that's how I have enjoyed doing residential real estate. I've done commercial too, and residential and commercial real estate are very different as well.
100%.
Commercial is so geared towards the bottom line, the numbers.
It's more transactional feeling than it is
Totally.
like residential is. It's
No
the biggest
emotion tied.
Yeah,
Really. Yeah.
It's the biggest transaction of someone's life.
100%. And I feel like in residential real estate, as a real estate agent, you're more respected by the clients that you're working with just because you have that connection, and it's very emotional. There's a lot of stuff going on. Like, I'm a counselor, half the time as a real estate agent.
Yeah.
I always tell like new team members that, that I chat with, like the two most difficult things that we deal with real estate is managing the expectations of our clients, that's the biggest thing. And then just working with other agents. That's the toughest part about the job.
Right. Yeah, that is true.
What would you say is like so real estate, right? You got to be unique. You got to be different. What are some characteristics that you would say help you be different and succeed within the industry of like why I would come to you?
I think it's just somebody who's sociable, somebody who can, just have a conversation and build a relationship. That's what the business is all about. It's all about building relationships. I'm not selling.
The whole industry, right?
Yeah, it's the whole industry.
All
we're not selling anything. We're providing a service to people who need our help.
Right.
So I think you really need to be able to have conversations with people, have great communication skills. Organization skills are absolute must. I mean, you can't be a real estate agent without having your crap together. You have to be able to
Are you
organize
sure?
a lot of details. You do. You
Well,
really
you can,
do.
but you're not going to get a lot of referrals.
Right. 100%. Yes.
And if you could give, so on that, being sociable, personable, you've kind of said as well as like a counselor, you're consulting them throughout the transaction. You're not selling them. It's not very transactional versus like commercial. What would you say to a new agent starting out? So like they're very sociable, but like what would you give them as a piece of advice of what would you do?
You know, I've heard so many pieces of advice when I got into the business, and
Everyone loves to
yeah.
Oh, yes,
give
I've
their
got it all
opinions.
figured out.
Absolutely. And you hear so many different things and so many different angles of what you should do and what you shouldn't and so on and so forth. I think it's so imperative when you're starting out to deep dive the business as much as possible. And for me, it's like our bread and butter is all of the forms that we need to know. Mm-hmm. Like if you can't write a purchase agreement and know how to consult somebody on, okay, what are the best terms to offer? What advice can you give? And so on and so forth. Like I literally studied every single addendum that we have, the whole purchase agreement. And if I didn't understand something in the purchase agreement, I went to my broker and asked, like, what does this piece mean? How do I explain this to somebody? Because the biggest part of our job is not to just go open a door, and say, here's the house. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty details of the purchase agreement, and these people are making the biggest financial decision of their life, you have to know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And so many new
100%.
agents get into the business and they don't know how to turn around these documents, face them towards this client that you're working with, and explain every single thing in those forms and tell them how it's going to affect them. I think that's huge.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Especially, I feel like, in my opinion, that might not be a popular opinion for some listeners. But like, especially the past 2 years, there was a lot of people who joined the industry because things were on fire and wanted to just
Get a little piece of that.
They
wanted to jump in.
And some of them, not all, but some is like a get rich quick scheme, right? Like I just want to make this transactional and can't be able to explain the documents. And so I love that is to hear that from you, is because we need more of, I think, of those folks within the industry to be able to service your client, because you're in the service business.
Right.
But
absolutely
properly, and taking your knowledge and customizing the experience for your client.
Well, we have fiduciary duties, when it comes to clients, and all of those duties talk about reasonable care and accounting and, giving proper counseling. Mm-hmm. Well, if you don't know what's contained in the pages of the purchase agreement that your people are signing a legal document, that's a huge problem. And I think that when you're a new agent, if you master those things, you're not going to know everything. You're going to have to ask your broker for a lot of different things and a lot of different advice from other agents who've been through different parts of a transaction where things go wrong. But at the end of the day, the nuts and bolts of the purchase agreement, if they understand that, know that, and are able to explain to a client, that's where you get your expert status.
So one of the things I'm taking away from you, or that you've said quite a bit, is it is important to, so like you were going to your broker to have them explain things. To, like if you had questions, right? Like you would go to your broker and say, and so I think that is like highlights is how important it is to make sure you are at the right brokerage.
Yeah. And I've really changed my opinion over the years on like brand. Mm-hmm. Like I've changed my opinion on maybe a more independent brokerage versus, a national franchise like Remax or Keller Williams or things like that. They're great brokerages. Every one of them are. But even the small name brokerages can be successful too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
As long as they know what they're doing. As long as they have the experts in that brokerage, that when an agent does go and ask them the questions, they're available to them and can get those questions answered. And it's the right advice too.
Yeah, it really is about the people that are at the brokerage. And I feel like some of the agents that got into the business, they got into it because they did know somebody that was a real estate agent that had a brokerage and gave them the confidence to be able to go do it. And they felt comfortable going to them with questions and everything. And that's kind of part of why they even got into the industry to start with. And so I think like if you're, the big names, that's great because people see them, they recognize them and all that. And they are all wonderful because it's all about the people. But I am always hearing about new, smaller brokerages out there that I hadn't heard about. And then when I meet the people, it's like, wow, like you're very impressive.
Absolutely.
You have got skills. And, it's like who you know. It's building your own business and you're your own brand. So
100%.
So would you tell a new agent to, in your opinion or advice, would you say starting off with a large brokerage, because there's a lot of, there tends to be, a lot of training and educational piece on that things. And then, because obviously this ties to who you are, how you sell, and to your success too, because having that customizable experience.
Yeah, when
right,
you're
or am I?
Yeah, when you're brand new, I think every individual is different. So I think it really depends on how they best learn, what's available to them, so on and so forth. They have to go into interviewing brokerages with their own thought of what their needs are when it comes to their learning environment and how they learn best. 100%, I think you need to be on a team when you're brand new because you're surrounded by people who have done the business, know the business, and there's other people there that are learning too.
Guiding you through.
Yeah, guiding you through and kind of having that mentorship. You can't go into the business without having at least one mentor that you're calling and you're getting advice from and you're learning the business from. You just can't do it as a single agent. Mm-hmm. Maybe some people can, but most people are going to fail in that case.
So did you start on a team yourself?
Yeah, I haven't moved since I got into the business. So I'm on the Minnesota real estate team.
And that's a large team.
It's a large team.
Yeah.
There's 170 agents. Right. It's led by Ryan O'Neill, and he's a fantastic guy, and he's taught me everything that I know. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten through where I am today without the training that I had gotten when I joined that team.
Well, and it sounds like there's some exciting things you have in the works here because, you're going to be on a show.
Yeah.
You're on a show.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love the title.
Yes.
The American Dream.
The American Dream.
You are on the All American Dream podcast, so
Yep,
I think it's a good tie together. So tell us about how did that come about? Like, kind of, if you don't mind sharing, dive in of like how, because you can't just land on a show. Like no one can just. So tell us like from start, like piece one. How did it happen?
I was literally driving back to my office from a listing appointment, and I just got a random phone call.
Stop.
No, it was super.
Really?
It was super weird. It all started with a phone call. And this is a good plug for agents too that are listening. Always answer your phone.
Always answer your phone. I say
My
that
God,
too.
unless you have dedicated time set aside where you're like, okay, now it's family time. This is what we're doing. Like, I get it. We can't always answer our phone, but I'm in the car, I'm driving. There's no reason why I can't answer my phone. And so that's how it started out. I got a phone call. And basically they said that I was on a list of agents that were recommended to them to potentially cast for this show which is American Dream TV for a new show called Selling the Twin Cities. And
I mean, if that doesn't attest to who you are and how you do.
Well, the weird thing is that I was super skeptical. I was like, okay,
Who
what is
recommended me?
Yeah, I'm
Who's
like,
the person,
I'm like, who do I have to thank for this? It's like, oh geez, either I'm going to strangle you for recommending me or I'm going to hug you. Yeah. We'll find out which one it is. But I just got this call. They said, hey, this is an opportunity to come to this basically informational session with the CEO of American Dream TV and kind of learn about the show, learn about what we're looking for. And if you feel it's a good fit, let us know. And then we'll let you know if we think you're a good fit. And if both parties want to move forward, we'll do it. And so I went to downtown St. Paul, went to this informational session with Craig, who's the CEO of the company. The show is all based on lifestyle, culture, and real estate. And really, I would say it's more focused on lifestyle and culture than the last part of it. Real estate is obviously something that all the hosts on the show, we're all realtors. So there's that piece of it. But we're really highlighting the communities that we work in, which I think is so cool about the show. It's not reality TV. It's not like it's scripted. Not only am I the host, I'm the producer. So
fun.
I literally make the phone calls to various businesses and different officials and things like that and set up my own interviews and say, here's what we're going to talk about. Here's how we're going to shoot the show. Like, I call the shots, which is pretty cool too. So
that's awesome.
It's just a neat.
That's a different thing to put on your resume.
Right. Yeah. I'm a host and a producer of a TV show.
You can build just by making those phone calls. You can call anyone.
I mean, from police officer to producer, it should be like your tagline.
Right. Exactly. So it's really fun. It's I did the first episode, which just recently aired. Which is awesome on CBS affiliate, the CW in the Twin Cities here. And it also streams on Apple, Roku, and Fire Stick. So the show is available to watch in its entirety there as well.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. I think that is a huge accomplishment. Did you ever find out who recommended you?
I didn't. You
got to work on that.
I did ask. So I guess they had this database that they got. Then they went through the producers and different people who work with the show and kind of vetted the list. And then from there, the invites came in, those who were interested, then they had a pool of that, and then they selected the show from there. So it was a pretty lengthy process that they had. My inkling is that I have a connection with Ryan Serhant, in New York, went through
$1 million listing on Bravo. I know him.
Yeah. So I got connected with Ryan Serhant's program. Did a lot of work with his brand strategist, Jules. Worked with them a little bit. So I kind of have a feeling my name might have got thrown out from there. So
that's awesome.
That's what I'm going with. I'm sticking with it.
I like that.
We'll have to do a part 2 because so 2 questions. One is, has it taken away from your real estate at all? Because I don't know how many hours this takes to do.
It's actually a really good setup that they've done with this show. They have shows, I think, in over 50 cities across the United States that they do. And they have kind of a different program in different markets. And our particular market is every other month that we do a new episode. So while it takes some planning on the front end, my shoot is only half a day. When I actually do it, when I schedule my shoot.
And you have the places planned that you're going, and
you got the places planned. You have a backup plan in case some of those don't work out, and you're just kind of getting ready to shoot. And it's I would say, I don't know, it's probably anywhere from 12 to 15 hours a month.
Oh, so that's not horrible.
So it's not terrible. No, it's really not.
Because I'll be interested to see, and like I said, we'll have to do like a part 2 with you on if that, I don't want to say jumpstart's not the right word, but accelerates.
Right.
For people
think
seeing
of all
you.
the new connections that you're building and meeting people you would have maybe never met had it not been for this, to be able to interview them, learn about them, and all the platforms that this can be shared on is
absolutely
incredible.
Yeah. It's a huge opportunity for me. I know it's going to be a great part of my business, and I'm super excited to keep going with it.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Where can people find you?
They can find me on my website. It's brycerealestate.com, BRYCE realestate.com. I can be reached by phone, 651-302-4812, or even by email, bryce@brycerealestate.com.
Awesome. And we'll put that all in our notes, and go watch The American Dream. And if you need anyone to help you, Melanie and I are right here to sign
we
up.
can be a backup place too. If something falls through. Like,
there you go.
Happy to help.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks.